Oh my god. Brick Road.
It gets a little tedious in the middle part.
Ends in the beginning and also at the end.
Yeah, and also at the beginning and the end, yeah.
I'll let you guys, if you want, to use your reactions to make an insight check now. Adrex, you can make this check at advantage if you so choose.
Yeah, I'll toss mine out. This seems like something Wendy would do.
Okay.
Nope.
No, in that you roll badly, or no, in that you have no interest?
No, I rolled severely badly. I rolled a 1, nat 1.
That's a 19.
Okay.
Already got a 20.
Are Adrex and Red taking this roll?
I need my reaction for uncanny dodge.
Oh, okay. Adrex needs his reaction to pick his nose.
You can do that as a free action.
Is he even back?
So, you hear...
Yeah, did you turn off Elizabeth?
I did.
Okay.
You hear the chief yell something down at his other men in the Orcish tongue. Wendy, this strikes you as extremely strange as you watch these other orcs, especially as one just got killed by one of Birdie's arrows. As they're starting to become less aggressive, you heed this chief's commands. And a lot of attention is being paid to your sword, which I'll remind you, you are currently dragging through one of these orcs.
Yeah, it's just a little bit, though.
Hey, Brick, I don't think we're all back.
I think we might be missing a McDohl.
No, I'm here. I'm just feeling.
Oh.
I heard his bagel.
Just have that gift of the dragon man eating nachos.
Brick, is this before or after I told the guy that this isn't so-and-so's sword?
After.
And
one of them yelled out, "That's Malush's blade." You yelled out, "It's not." There was some communication back and forth. And now the chief has stepped out of the hunger of Hadar and ordered his men to stand down. And he's doing so in Orcish. And what this tells you with your 19 insight roll...
Yeah.
Before he was issuing commands in common. Now he's issuing his commands in a language that only he and his men can understand. This other surrounding ogres and giants and goblins and whatnot in earshot would not be able to understand this command.
Okay. And I'm not going to sheath my weapon because he seems very fascinated in it. But I'll kind of like lower it a bit and hop down and start moving.
That's awesome, but it's not your turn.
Oh, I thought we were off.
No, that was his turn. Well, we might not be, depending on how much more hostility there is. What does Adrex do next? Well, first he's going to take 2d6 cold damage.
Well, he's going to take half that.
7.
All right.
What does Adrex do?
Then he told the orc officers to put down their weapons?
He ordered his men to stand down. And he did so in Orcish.
Well, first thing Adrian's going to do is get his ass out of this fucking Hadar shit. Ugh.
Okay. You come crawling out underneath this cart. The only cart that has barrels that have not been destroyed with Hadar.
And is anyone taking opportunity attacks?
No.
Out of threat ranges?
They are not.
Where's the chieftain at?
Chieftain is the blue one standing next to you.
Oh, god damn it. No, the colors have reverted.
Yeah, they're all green now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they all should be green except this one.
Yeah, that one's green.
I'm going to right-click it and just name it Chieftain. And
that's
so
fine.
You remember.
That'll work.
And once Adrex realizes that he's not being attacked, he makes a very big gesture of saying, "All right, calm down," maybe to his allies.
I mean, you have to say that rather loudly for your allies across the room to hear you.
Oh, they can't see me.
No,
Then yeah, Adrex will just shout, "All right, everybody, hold on a minute."
In what language?
Take a deep breath. In common.
In common?
Yeah.
And when you start shouting in common, the chieftain elbows you in the back and interrupts you and gives you this stern look. Let's give some cold damage to my last orc that's still standing inside of the Hadar.
I didn't deserve this.
12.
12? He doesn't come crawling out the other side. That's...
Well, maybe he came out the back.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see that orc later.
Yeah, he went to a farm.
The last orc does take up position next to Adrex. Neither of them make any more motion towards you with hostility, but it's very clear that they don't want you. They don't want to let you out of arm's reach. Also, 2 of them over there are dead, so these ones down here come over here to offer backup. These 2 standing in front of you, in common, very gruffly and very, like from a position of authority, ask you to step down off of the trough and follow them. And they're speaking in common, but they're speaking kind of below conversationally to make sure that they're not overheard.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'll nod to Red and I'll hop down.
What does Red do?
Yeah, I'll put my bow on my back.
Okay. Birdie, when this starts happening, these other 2 orcs start moving in your direction.
I'm going to... Are we still on initiative?
We are. This is the end of the orc's turn. Next turn will be Wendy's turn.
I just timed out again.
You just watched Wendy and Red exchange some words with these 2 orcs, and they both hop down the trough, and they're starting to walk back to the north.
It's not your turn.
No, I was just doing math.
Wendy, you're following the orcs?
Yeah, I'll follow the orcs, but I'll move over here and like make a motion for Birdie to calm down.
Okay.
And
Very
like
calm.
I'll just like essentially motion over and like, don't worry, I've got your back if things go bad.
Okay. And Red, you're following the orcs as well?
Yeah, sorry, I was disconnected there, but
Yeah, I was disconnected as well.
Looks like Tabletop's having issues tonight.
It's just Destil and McDohl's. Their incompatibility is really tearing us party apart.
This family can't survive. None of the pigs are alive in there anymore.
All right, Destil, I get to keep McDohl, the other McDohl.
Raazu, what do you do?
I get Nodal and Birdie then.
Raazu is seeing that the hostilities have cooled to a simmer. She doesn't offer up any hostility anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But she's got her hand on her whip and she's staring directly at Birdie.
Wow.
Really? Because there's an orc right in front of you who threatened to threatened to behead you.
A minute ago, he shoved you down into the mud and stood on your back, and you're thinking this is all Birdie's goddamn fault.
It is. It is. It very much is.
Listen, if you can't appreciate a good distraction,
I mean, it was diverting.
After a minute, the orcs bring the 3 of you all together. And the chief...
Yeah, after a
Birdie,
minute,
do you leave the spell up?
no, I was gonna as soon as it was my turn, I was
Okay.
gonna dismiss it.
Chief looks down at his 2 dead men, one of which has an arrow through his skull, the other which died a cold, acidic death under this cart.
I think there was 3. There was one that got tripped.
Probably, and many, many pigs.
Yeah, a lot of pigs.
But yeah,
All
the
the
chief
pigs.
looks down at his fallen soldiers, and he speaks quickly and calmly, but in a manner as to not raise his voice over the din of the area. And you can see there's still a great amount of commotion all around you. And he looks at Wendy, looks at the sword she's carrying. He says, "You carry the blade of one of my most bitter enemies."
And Wendy looks down at it. Well, I've got good news for you.
He asks
Adrex
if he
lets out a
died
very-
painfully.
Hendrix lets out a very relieved sigh. Ah.
And Wendy responds, it wasn't painless.
He indicates this area here. Back behind this kind of wooden pen. Kind of this entire area is a pig pen. Just instead of having little pens with the pigs, they just pen off the other entrances so the pigs can't get out.
I mean, that's thinking.
That's fair.
He tells you go swiftly to the prison with his men. Do so before the ogres and giants arrive.
All right, but to be clear, we're not getting in any cell. And Wendy will start following the orcs.
Okay. The chief, instead of going with you, which direction does he go? Very swiftly heads off across this bridge and disappears into the crowds of goblins. You guys are taken to the prison area up here. So you still see where the water is coming in through the north end of the dam in this room. There are 5 wooden cages. There's no cells as such, but great wooden cages throughout the area. The area is overseen by 2 bugbears. And you can see there's a great deal of animosity between the orcs that bring you in and these 2 bugbears. Let's go ahead and I'll put them on the map for you.
I'm sure that won't come up.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine, I imagine. Wendy, one of the orcs, and I mean they're escorting you a little roughly. Like they've got you guys by the arms, and they're kind of dragging you across this bridge and through the pig shit and the muck and whatnot.
Raazu refuses to be dragged by the arms. She walks of her own accord. She walks where they're leading her, but she's not going to be carried by the arm.
What makes you think any orc wants to touch you? You're a nasty hobgoblin. You smell like fish soup.
I mean, you do smell like fish soup. That part is true.
So, suffice it to say then, Raazu's coming up at the end of the groups, and she's making a show of being too good to be dragged or moved by these orcs.
Yeah.
And some of the goblins in the area are watching this with awe. And the orc gets you in the other side of the pen and leans in, and in common, with just hate and bile in his throat, instructs Raazu, tell your companions to stay quiet until the chief returns. And then he spits on the ground. They leave you in the care of these 2 bugbears. Bugbears have been instructed to not place you in cages. Adrex, I'm going to assume you grabbed up your equipment before you came. You didn't just leave your shit laying there?
Yeah, no, Adrex will grab his equipment.
Okay.
Raazu will tell the others, keep it down. Don't, Rhett, what do you...
I'm gonna go over and inspect these cages.
Okay.
I assume you guys have those ones.
So, right, you're checking the 2 over here?
Yeah.
Raazu puts her back up against the wall here. Just sweeps back and forth, looking for, watching everything she can.
Birdie and Windy approaching these cages. There's nobody inside. These three are empty. Red, as you move in that direction, one of the bugbears moves in right behind you. You don't speak Goblinoid, I can't imagine.
I don't think so.
And he
probably hear it.
He gives you some kind of gruff instruction. Raazu, you hear it as something like, "Hey, you, stay away from there."
And Red will just move his finger up to his lips like, "Shh, we were told to be quiet."
Got him.
Damn, that's it. You're the DM now. You win. that's how you win D&D. So you shush the bugbear.
Yeah.
Do you still move over to the cages?
Oh yeah.
He reaches out and grabs you by the shoulder.
Is he gonna make an attack roll for that? Because I'm pretty sure I can athletics my way out of it.
Dodge your way out of
Or
it.
acrobatics my way out of it.
Red, stop making trouble.
You don't have to roll very high.
Ugh. 6.
You beat me.
Yep, and Red
So,
just
yeah.
keeps walking.
Raazu,
Like
you
he doesn't
see
even notice him.
the bugbear reach out to grab Red, and Red just ducks under his hands. When you get close up to the cages, looking in this one, you see an unconscious and very badly injured female hill giant laying on the ground. You can see where she's vomited up blood. You can see where she's been bruised up and down one side of her face and across her shoulder and one of her arms. In the other cage, there are 2 dead orcs that have the same kind of, clearly from the same tribe as the orcs who just took you into custody. Raazu, what are you doing back there?
Telling Red, stop. Stand down. Don't antagonize them.
In what language?
I know Red and her. I thought her.
Everyone speaks Draconic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, she says it in Draconic.
Okay. The bugbear, hearing Raazu speak, comes around and very gruffly. I mean, he seems nervous because he's about to start mouthing off to a hobgoblin. But he tells you, get your friend away from the cages or he's going to call in the lugs.
Raazu motions for Red to come back over.
Sure.
The bugbear watches him move back into the main prison very nervously. But he seems satisfied that there's not going to be any more trouble. Speaking
Raazu
of trouble,
says
what's
to the
Birdie doing?
bugbear, dismiss.
And he tells you he doesn't take orders from you.
We'll see about that.
Red will whisper in Draconic, I'm pretty sure I found the hill giant. The other cage has a pair of dead orcs in it.
Just once, I want to have a session where my players are nice to my NPCs. Just once. Just have a nice conversation.
Look at me. Look at
If you,
me. I'm the DM now.
If the bugbears, if we get a chance, I'll go over there and pick the lock on that cage with the giant.
To do that, you're going to have to keep these bugbears in this room.
Yeah,
It looks like
if we get a chance, if there's something that distracts them.
Okay.
Like an arrow.
I start, like, messing with the cage.
Birdie, stop it.
Well, this one's empty. This one, it has a lock on it, but currently it's open and unlocked.
No.
Well, you can close and open the cage all you want. The bugbears are going to think that's a little weird, but they're not going to.
I'm just opening, like, I'm just gonna open the cage and just, like, slam the door and just do that repeatedly.
Yeah, Wendy's looking over at him like, I bet I could get him in that cage. I bet I could get him in that cage and lock it.
Birdie, keep it down!
Oh.
Birdie, knock it off.
I was trying to distract the...
Adrex is playing with the dead fish impaled on his hoard.
Okay. You guys are in here for a
Slapping
few
it to make it
minutes,
spin.
and you hear some more commotion outside. You hear the shrieks, the pathetic wailings of just a little goblin man. Those of you who can speak Goblinoid, he's crying out something like, "No, Tnooz didn't do anything! Tnooz didn't do nothing wrong!" And the shrieks get dragged across this room and start disappearing down a tunnel on the other side. And you hear the echoing for a few moments. Then you hear something very loud and smushy. And then The shrieks stop abruptly.
Well, that didn't sound good.
And a few moments later, the chief and 2 of his orcs come up into the prison. And they have a very curt and disrespectful discussion with the bugbears in Goblinoid. Like, you know when somebody clearly can speak a language, but they're pretending like they're not because they look down on the people who speak that language? Like somebody who goes to great efforts to pretend like they can't pronounce simple Spanish words. That's how this guy is speaking to these bugbears in Goblinoid. And at that, the bugbears find themselves dismissed.
Raazu nods, self-satisfied.
Yeah, I love these orcs, says Raazu.
And the chief calls Windy forward.
I'll hop forward.
He says he would have the name of the warrior that slew Mulush.
The pattern which is formed as the wind blows over the sand.
And he says, you hear that, boys? Mulush was felled by a blind bird woman. And they have a good snicker at the dead orc's expense.
One of them is the orc that got stabbed by Windy like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, he's like still hurt. He's like just pretending to laugh like it's not really funny to him. He tells you that his name is Nuga. And that dispatching one of his bitter foes has bought you a short time to survive. Just long enough that he was willing to blame the previous commotion on a goblin of no consequence, to pacify Flutrum and his giants.
Flutrum?
Flutrum Orc Eater is the hill giant that lives here.
I thought that was...
Taglith
Okay.
is under the mountain.
That's right.
Taglith is a stone giant. Flutrum is his strongest hill giant vassal. He's been charged with looking over some treasure of Taglith's.
Right. And Windy will look around the cavern
Mm-hmm.
and say, so how did you come to work for Hill Giants?
He tells you that he's not inclined to answer any of your questions. He says that at this moment in time, the 2 of you are even. You've dispatched one of his most bitter enemies, and he has spared the lives of you and your companions. He tells you that if... And he's not speaking loud, he's not speaking with any bravado. He's actually speaking very calmly, and in common so that all of you can understand him.
Mm-hmm.
He tells you that he surmises, given how some of you snuck in here and the others were laying in wait, that clearly you have some business with Flutrum, and clearly it's not going to do him any good.
Clearly.
He wants to know if this business is going to end with Flutrum dead.
Would you like it to?
One of the orcs standing behind him, the one that you didn't stab earlier,
Right, like the other one.
says that he thinks it's fitting that the bird's giving such cagey answers. Because the bird cage.
Yeah, no,
Right.
yeah, got it.
Okay.
And I'll look over at him unsettlingly with my empty eye sockets.
Oh, I thought you had a bandana tied around your head.
No.
No, absolutely not.
Why would you ever think that?
And then I'll look back at the orc leader to see if he's going to answer my question.
Nuga says that when you answer him like that, it makes him think that you're trying to tell him what he wants to hear. He says he doesn't want to hear what you think he wants to hear. He wants to hear what you and your companions are doing here and whether it's going to end with Flutrum dead.
Flutrum is the one, then Red will just walk in, interrupting the conversation.
Okay.
Flutrum is the one who's been kidnapping the local giants.
And Nuga confirms that that's correct. He says that he says that the Bitch Lord keeps a grand harem of all different kinds of giants. And that Flutrum, being named one of the Bitch Lord's bannermen, has decided to emulate some of his eccentricities.
And Flutrum's also the one with the treasure, I take it?
So you're here to take Taglith's treasure.
I'm just trying to answer your question, but I need a little more information. Sorry, I don't speak giant.
And Wendy will nod at the orc leader and say, "Our plans are malleable."
He tells you that if your plans are to take the treasure and leave this place, that he's not going to allow it. He's going to go upstairs, he's going to tell the giants that there are prisoners that need to be executed in order to safeguard Taglith's treasure. However, if your plan is to come into possession of Taglith's treasure in a way that leaves Flutrum dead, perhaps the memo doesn't get passed along.
I mean, you can see by the way my two companions entered the place, we're not exactly the best at, quietly slipping into a place, getting something, and leaving without making a commotion. I'd say, realistically, it was about a 70% chance he was going to end up dead regardless.
That sounds about right.
Nuga looks unimpressed, and he tells Red that he asks Red, "Does this look like the kind of place that's difficult to sneak into?"
No. And that should just show you about how likely it is we're going to sneak in versus just killing everything in the way, or some combination of the two. But by the end, there'll definitely be a bunch of bodies.
Will there?
There's already a couple.
I'll elbow. I'll elbow you if you say that, because...
Okay. Yeah. Of course, yes. Right. Mm-hmm.
And Wendy will look over at the orc and will say, "You're being open with us, so we'll be open back. We don't have any issue with taking out this Flutrum. If you're going to get you and yours out of the way if we do so, then we can come to an agreement."
He asks if this agreement would be somewhere along the lines of 50% of Taglith's treasure.
There's a few pieces that we're interested in. We could split the rest with you. In addition, and Wendy will point over directly at the orc woman through the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We want the giant.
He says that she's one of many that are stationed here, all of which will fight to defend Flutrum when the time comes. 6 in total, hill giants. In addition to 8 ogres. Lord knows how many goblins. I'm actually looking down the list here. I have a nice printed list of everybody who lives here.
It says right down there, Lord knows how many goblins.
Mm-hmm. 6 bugbears, 4 hobgoblins. Yeah, he lists off the denizens of this place. His next question is, what is your plan in order to... Do you have enough strength among the 5 of you to take down all of this muscle?
And Wendy will respond. How much of it do you think that you can get out of the way? Who can you bully out of here?
He says none without drawing attention to myself.
And then Windy will kind of shrug. How many can you bully out of here if we're already causing a mess in another room?
He looks down at Birdie. And he says that ogres and giants have overwhelming strength, but they are dim-witted. If we slathered your little one in enough muck and pig shit, he would pass for a goblin. They wouldn't know the difference. He'd be able to scurry all around the entire dam without attracting notice to himself.
Maybe lay some traps.
He says he can give you 1 day here in the dam to take stock of the place, size everything up, figure out what you're going to do. And then they'll make a final decision tomorrow. And then he holds out his hand to you.
Yeah, Windy will hold out hers. Give him a nice shake.
He tells you that the giants and whatnot very rarely come down into the pen areas. Only when called upon. Twice a day when the carts come in and out, there are ogres in the vicinity, but otherwise the rest of you should be able to kind of have full run of the place if you want to move around. He says there's nowhere in the pens where the orcs will not be able to track your movements.
If they're going to disguise me as a goblin, I very specifically ask, is there anywhere where going as a goblin would get me smooshed or eaten?
And then he says, just with great acidity in his voice, that Flutrum is called the Orc Eater, not the Goblin Eater. But he can't speak for the rest of his harem. He indicates that once a day at about noon, at about midday mealtime, some of the hobgoblins who were already in Flutrum's employ when he and his orcs were taken on are ordered to carry the treasure, which is in a large golden chest, up to the watchtower. Once a day it's taken up there and brought back. He has not been in that tower. That's not his purview. The hobgoblins keep lookout there. There's a huge gong, so if they see threats coming in from the side, for example, if they saw an Aarakocra just kind of flying over the main courtyard, they can alert the entire dam from there.
Alright, so first things first, we should sabotage that gong.
He tells you that this area here, through the northeast tunnel, that is the Hill Giants' quarters. That if you're going to go into that area at all, you better make sure that you're not seen. That's where Flutrum keeps his harem.
And where do they keep Flutrum?
He says, he draws your attention to the holes out here. He says that Flutrum's hall is on the level above us. He tells you that he and his orcs aren't welcome there. That Flutrum keeps his hill giants close, the ogres, and he believes there's an Etten skulking around as well. He says if he were you, he would be very careful moving up into the hall. He asks if there's anything else you need to know before you get to work.
And Windy will look around at all the pigs and then at Red and say, is there any way to know what food is going to be brought to Flutrum?
And you're told that Flutrum eats absolutely everything. Flutrum has a disgusting... some kind of disgusting outlook that in order to be the most powerful hill giant chieftain he can possibly be, he needs to be the biggest hill giant he can possibly be. And to that end, he has dedicated his life to eating as much as possible every single day. He says it's a grotesque thing to see, just a mountain of rashy and immovable flesh with a face somewhat piled on it and stubby limbs. You can see he's just this putrid look on his face. Just the sight of this creature is very disgusting to him.
Immovable.
He tells you that Flutrum does not move from that spot.
Mm.
His women are brought to him when he demands it. Food is brought to him when he demands it. His ogres act as liaison between him and the orcs who are guarding his land.
Who brings him the food?
The food is lifted up through these holes. They have a system to lower down enormous baskets, load them up with live pigs. He saw the three orcs that you killed earlier have already been loaded in and dragged up.
Oh.
And
Enormous amounts of fish every day. He saw the ogres arguing about whether or not to load up the fish from the carts that had been inside the Hunger of Hadar. And in the end, they just piled all of them in. These disgusting, smoking, freezer-burned, tentacle manhandled fish. And they went up, and then the empty baskets came back down.
I think I have a new plan. What food goes to the hill giants, not Flutrum?
They dine with him.
Oh, in
And-
that case.
Wendy looks over at Red and says, and also at Birdie, like calling Birdie over, says, Red, do you think that you could poison those hill giants if we knew what food was going to be brought to them?
Did we lose Red?
It would take over a day to get a poison together, and I'm honestly not confident in anything I could do that quickly affecting something with the constitution of a hill giant.
And Wendy will nod, and then look over at Birdie. Birdie, how do you feel about tunneling through that ceiling?
I mean, I'm excited to do it. Let's. I
Which
haven't
ceiling?
got to dig.
The ceiling of this place.
Oh, it's a little high, isn't it?
Well, good news, I've got wings.
I don't know about this plan because the last time you dropped me,
Well, what if we dropped something else? Something heavy and, say, immovable.
Now, it's not an earthen ceiling to this giant pig pen. You can see the wooden planks of the structure above.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
so like, how about
Do
we
you-
just?
Do you
set
guys
fire
need
to everything?
Nougat for anything else at this point?
No, I
I think we're good.
if-
I think it would
we're good
probably
with
be.
him.
Did
I think
they,
it would be best if he wasn't here as well.
when they loaded up the orcs, did they leave their armor on them or strip them?
No, they stripped them bare and threw them in.
I'll ask them if I can borrow one of the suits of armor for a day.
You get static about that. The armor has been reclaimed by the orc tribe, and you can see that they really don't like the idea of turning it over. Is this something you want to push at?
Can I try diplomacy to convince them?
Yeah, you can make a persuasion check.
That would be a 22.
Okay. And what do you want this armor for?
I think if I cover up my face, I could probably disguise myself as an orc. A little bit of a slight orc, but move around a little bit more freely.
To what end, though? Like, what's the goal?
Keep Birdie an eye shot when he's down here, at least, if he's going to go off scouting disguised as a goblin.
No, I mean, what do you tell to Nougat
Oh.
is the goal? He needs to know
Uh,
why you need this armor for your plan.
I was going to also and do some investigation on my own, disguised as an orc.
So,
What do you know? The
Nuga
hobgoblins.
asks Birdie to come over to him.
I do so very cautiously. Kind of hunched shoulders, like I'm expecting to be hit.
That's fair.
He asks for you to hold up your hand.
I do so very cautiously.
He tells you with such ease he could break all of those little fingers. And he clenches his mailed fists. And he looks back to Red. And he says that if the armor is necessary for your plan, he says a suit can be relinquished to you. If it's not returned, in due course, so that we may honor our dead. Who knows where I may take out my aggressions? As he glares at the kobold.
Get in line, buddy.
Birdie was
Yeah.
In line.
He's got this coming. Believe me.
Red just nods.
Birdie shakes his head no. He knows that this is like they're going to keep the armor on.
If you have a suit of armor that you don't need, if you have any like spare or anything that wouldn't dishonor your dead, that would be preferable. But if that's the only case,
No, they give you one of the orc armor from one of the dead orcs.
It's all covered in tentacle marks.
Birdie, they cover you in slop and pig shit.
They seem to have a really good time doing it.
So over the course of the next day, let's just go down the list real quick and see what everybody's doing. What is Birdie doing over the course of the day?
Well, I have a couple of questions. Like, did we get a good enough look on the outside of the building? Like, I'm wondering, could we just set fire to the whole affair and watch it burn?
Not likely. This is a massive structure. You don't have nearly that much fuel, and there's enormous amount of water flowing through here.
Okay.
But to be clear about where everybody's going to be kind of allowed to go, everybody can move through these areas pretty much freely, because the only people watching are goblins who are going to be too scared to speak up, and orcs who are in on the plan. Birdie, there are goblins crawling all over every inch of this place at all hours of the day, pretty much. So you can go pretty much anywhere. Red, you've been told where the orcs are and are not allowed to go, and from there I'll let you push your luck.
So, to reiterate what we have, there are hobgoblins on this side, and the treasure is supposedly on this side, over here.
Every day at noon, the treasure is carried to the watchtower, which, if this came unlocked somehow, there we go, which would be over in this area. So there's a tunnel that leads up this slope into whatever's behind here, and then into the base floor of the watchtower.
Do we know why they do that?
No, it was incredibly baffling to Nuga, too. Nobody knows why.
So, does the treasure come from over here?
No, it's carried from where it's being stored. Actually, you know what? No, it doesn't come through here. It's stored up in the Orc Eater's room, and there's a passage from that room out to the outside area of the watchtower, so it doesn't actually have to go through the pig pen.
Okay.
So there's another floor above this, and the treasure kind of goes back and forth up there.
So, I think we should concentrate on this side. And as disguised as I am, that I'm pretty much allowed to go anywhere I want to, right? Within.
What you were told is that the giants and ogres wouldn't be able to tell you from a goblin. If you start setting fires to things, I mean, you see how they treat their goblins.
No, I'm not going to set fire to things. I was just asking everybody.
I seem to recall 4 minutes ago.
Also, I really like how the offended tone of voice, like, I'm not gonna set fire to things. Like, that doesn't sound like me at all.
But yeah, between you being disguised as a goblin and being super sneaky, you pretty much have full run of the place wherever you need to go.
Listen, Of the 4, I think, times we've actually set fire to things as a party, I'm only responsible for 3 of them.
I got those zombies that one time.
Yeah.
75% record. Yeah.
So let's
It's
let Birdie,
passing.
since Birdie's going to have the widest berth here, let's let him think about what he wants to do for a minute. We'll come back down to Adrex.
I don't know what Adrex can do. How can Adrex help?
How indeed.
I mean, so here's the thing, Adrix. I don't speak orc, and I'm a little bit light for it. I can disguise you. If you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
You're
That
gonna-
sounds like a great idea.
All right, you're going to put yourself in the orc armor.
Incredibly scaly
I
orc.
believe they're wearing, what, studded leather or chain mail or something? Actually, I don't know what kind of armor Adrex wears. What does he wear?
What does Adrex wear? It's like a chainmail thing.
I think it's chainmail because Raazu also wears
It's-
chainmail.
It's not the good stuff, but we get the disadvantage for it. Yeah, chainmail.
You don't
It's
sound
not
bitter
fair.
about that.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
Adrex-
this is hide armor, so it's less effective than the chainmail you're used to, but it's also lighter. And
And yeah, I'll do my best to mask his face, just like have a big helmet.
make a disguise check.
Yep.
I'm going to grant you
What,
advantage for
stat
having
does
the
that-
armor.
What stat do I add to that?
I'm going to say intelligence.
Cool.
You sure this plan is
I'll give you advantage for having the armor, but disadvantage because you're working with horns and a tail. So that cancels out.
17.
17. So there's no way this disguise is going to fool any of the orcs or goblins. But you're thinking that the ogres and giants might not even give him a second glance. You're pretty sure you did an alright job. But nobody
Yeah,
down
but
here in the pig pen is going to fall
All
for it.
for it.
I give him a big fancy mask and try and make the horns look like part of it to also cover some of his face.
Okay.
And the tail is just a bunch of like a very heavy whip hanging out his side. I hide it under.
Adrex walking around like this is very awkward.
I'm reminded of that
I
scene in
imagine-
Final Fantasy VII where Red 13 is disguised as a Shinra soldier.
I imagine Adrix is walking around like a load in his pants. He's taking a dump in his pants, and now that's just how he walks.
That's just orc.
The other problem is you're not going to be able to carry weapons because none of these orcs are carrying melee weapons. They all carry longbows.
That's you all over, man. You can finally be a ranger.
Adrix is proficient in punch. It's fine.
Okay. So what is Adrix doing with the day?
Yeah, what? So to recap, he said we basically got free reign here, like,
Yeah, the
Obviously
only
on the
creatures
inside.
down here are all goblinoids who are
yeah.
right. Mostly too afraid of these orcs, and the orcs who are in on it. The giants are in other areas of the structure.
And after that, it's like pushing our luck. In that case, I want to know what they're doing with that treasure, since that's Adrix's goal. So
Okay.
he will tail the treasure.
You're going to tail the
No pun
treasure.
intended.
What
No
is
pun
Raazu
intended.
going to be doing?
The hobgoblins here, they're probably too well disciplined and regimented to not notice an outsider. So she couldn't blend in with them.
Any
Yes, that's-
hobgoblin? Well, I mean, the goblinoids here are not like a standard goblinoid tribe. They're clearly, they have no autonomy. They belong to this giant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily wrong to say that they're too regimented that they wouldn't notice or that they wouldn't bother with it. At the same time, it's difficult to speculate exactly what they might be like.
Birdie, you think you could get eyes on the hobgoblins, observe them?
Yeah, I was gonna go check this area out anyway.
Okay. What is Red going to do?
So somebody staying here?
Well, there's a couple of bugbears staying there.
Roz is going to stay back while she's waiting for Birdie to report back.
Okay, Raazu, I want you to hold all of my stuff aside from my armor and a pair of daggers.
Okay.
And Red's gonna sneak his way over here and swim his way out to the river, to the lake.
So out here?
Yeah.
It's not going to be swimming as much as it's going to be like crawling through horrible muck and mud.
Oh, is that low? Okay.
You'll get through it,
Yep.
but it's not going to be
No, yeah.
a swim.
Yeah, I want to investigate the waterways in and out of this place. Get
Okay.
a good feel for them.
And what's Windy going to do?
I want to see. Well, first of all, because it'll only take 5 minutes, I want to get confirmation that this is in fact Big Boof in this cage.
So how do you do that without the bugbears hassling you?
And the bugbears are always just like constantly watching.
Yes, if you're in the air, I mean, they're charged with guarding these prisoners.
Screw it. I don't really care enough.
Okay, so what are you going to do?
I want to try to get like a good gauge of how this ceiling is constructed,
Mm-hmm.
and see if I can bring it come crashing down underneath that giant.
Looks pretty sturdy. Like the wood planks look like entire trees have been denuded and split and lashed together to form this floor. It would take an incredibly large amount of force to pull it down. And you're not, I mean, considering how damp the place is, you think it would be almost impossible to burn. Looking at the two grates in the ceiling, you don't get any further information because you're blind. What you know is that whenever the huge bellowing voice of the Orc Eater above calls for it, you hear the large baskets descend down, goblins struggle to get them loaded back up, and then they're winched back up to the top.
Where does it sound like his voice is coming from?
Above you, through these two holes in the ceiling here and here.
But like from both of them equally. Basically, I'm trying to triangulate his voice.
Yeah, kind of from both of them equally.
Okay, so he's like somewhere in the middle of them.
Perhaps. It's all, keep in mind the scope of this place, it's really big and echoey. It's kind of hard to figure out like which exact square he's going to be on.
Alright, then I'm going to just kind of spend my time looking over the ceiling, such that if I can figure out some kind of big force, I'll know where to apply it.
Okay.
Well, like, okay, so it's damp inside the cave,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what about the roof of the structure outside? It's just made of thatch, isn't it?
You haven't been up on the roof. From a distance, you saw that. Yeah, it was made. It was made of a straw. Let me see if I have an actual description of the wolf. What did I say? Oh, I said wolf because I'm looking at the wolf pen section of the book. It's a log and straw roof. Let me get you that picture here.
The instant wolf.
You ever do that when you're trying to say one thing but you're reading another thing and you just start saying the thing that you're reading?
Yeah,
time.
all the time.
All the Pornhub.
Yep.
This is the structure here. So you've got this log and straw roof over this building made of mud and stone. But it's a pretty sound structure. And having looked at it from the outside, you're not even sure that
Be right back.
Dushu's plan of throwing giant stone-laden barrels at the wall would have worked.
Wait, are you saying that genius plan would not have worked?
I don't know. You guys decided not to try it. All right, let me put the map back here, and then I'll start giving you guys the spots that you're investigating. So it's Birdie's plan to sneak over into the area with the
tower.
with the watchtower. Okay. Birdie.
Boy, the blood stains are encouraging.
This area over here is where the pigs are slaughtered, as well as unwanted trespassers. You see in the north wall where the river has punched a big hole, flows out through the south. Coming in here, the slaughtered pigs and things, these are meant to feed the goblinoids and the orcs and whatnot. The giants eat theirs live upstairs. Coming in here, the whole place, you kind of feel the crumbling base of a hill giant lumbering around the room. A very old male hill giant. His eyes are glassy. You can tell he's at least half blind. And he's dragging this big bloodied axe behind him from table to table. And as you watch, you see the goblins will drag a pig or a sheep or something in this room, and they'll throw them up on one of these tables. The hill giant will come over and butcher the thing, and they'll split up the meat and they'll cart it off. This room to the north here, when he's done with his work, he drags his heavy axe back into there. In the center here, you see a ladder that leads up through a hole in the roof.
I mean, I'm going to go for the ladder.
Okay, are you making any attempt to not be seen by the big guy?
I'm just going to hunch my shoulders and pretend to be a goblin.
Okay. As you make your way to the ladder, one of the goblins kind of grabs you by the shoulder, and you don't actually speak goblin, do you?
No.
Then you don't understand what he says in his hushed and panicked voice. But anyway, when he turns around and he sees you're not a goblin, he just squeals and skitters away from you as fast as he can.
Methinks that is a warning sign. But we're still, I think I need to take a look up the ladder.
Okay. And I'm going to save this map and make sure I overwrite the proper map. And then load up the other map.
The other map.
And you climb up the ladder into a larder. There are big hooks on the walls of this room. The door is stained with blood. Hungry flies buzz around, and you see carcasses hanging from all these hooks. Butchered livestock, a couple of humanoids, you know, some goblins. You see what you think is probably Port's news. And there's an exit off to the side in this direction where you smell cooking? Question mark?
Burning.
Well, I'm going to sneak over to the corner here, and if this is an open door, I'm going to peek in.
Yeah, it's an open. There's not a door here, just a doorway. Looking into this room, you see the kitchens, and you see several goblins furiously moving about, preparing food. They've just got big slabs of bloody meat that one of them is seasoning. You can smell something being roasted over a spit in the north end of the room. 6 of them moving about. None of them have noticed you just peering around the corner.
Is it all goblins?
Yes. Well, in this room, you just see 6 goblins plus the meat they're working with. Through this door, however, you hear conversation in Giantish. You hear a really deep, fat voice. You know what I mean? Fat voice.
Yes.
Okay. That's what you hear through this open door.
So
Giantish sounds just like Huttese for some reason in my head.
I'm going to skitter across the floor here to here, but like kind of like you know how they say if you look like you belong in a place, nobody pays you attention.
Cool. Make a deception check.
14.
14. And are you going to enter this room over here, or just get a look at it?
Just look. Just get a look.
Okay. Let me give you the rest of the kitchen real quick.
Just a quick peek.
Can't believe we're not going to get Birdie back.
Oops.
He gets eaten. He gets to play as whoever ate him.
Is that how that works?
Pretty sure. I played D&D once or twice.
You
I don't
see
know what
two
you know about
enormous
D&D.
snakes laying in these doorways. No, these are heavy curtains made out of hard leather, blocking your view out this way and out this way. Having seen the place from the outside, though, you know the watchtower would be out this direction. And you peek into this room here. And this is a horrible, horrible room.
Oh, that looks fine.
I mean, there's pies on the floor. How bad could it be?
I'm going to actually... I should have prepared this image earlier.
Was he not expecting to see this image today?
Oh, yeah, this is a really good picture. I'm going to paste this in our wonderful, wonderful Twitch chat. And in the Flumph Party Discord.
Okay.
But I'm pasting like a thin version of what this creature looks like. So you have to imagine this creature, but much fatter. So put that in there. Oh my god, look at that fucking link. What is that? Holy shit.
Oh my god, I love it.
That's not gonna work. Clearly.
No, I clicked on adrex.livejournal.com and I was not disappointed.
Hold on, let me get...
I'm not clicking it because I like the description so much that I don't feel like I need to look at it.
Here, this one's an actual link that you can click and not just pages and pages of Google image search nonsense. There we go. And then let me put that in the Flumph Party chat as well. This is the creature you see sitting in this... God, it's not even a throne. It's just this pile of, like... This pile of wood that's kind of sitting up off the floor that's just kind of pressed in with the mass of this hill giant sitting there.
So they have him on a pallet?
A little bit, yeah. So you see in the room that it's a dining hall, and it's the most disgusting dining hall you've ever seen in your life. You kind of have this wooden shelf protruding around the edges of the room with ladders at regular intervals so goblins can move up and down and about. Another heavy curtain blocks the entrance out front. There are several female hill giants dining at these tables, and I mean, they're just ripping apart these live pigs. In the center of the room, you see these two large grates that, with great effort, you think a pack of goblins could drag these out of the way, and then one of these large baskets attached to heavy winches to the side could be lowered down through them and then hauled back up. Also in this room are 4 ogres. That's in addition to the 5 female hill giants. 4 ogres and 6 goblins. The goblins are, for lack of a better term, waiting hand and foot on the giants. This one's barking to be fed repeatedly. And tucked underneath the thing's throne, kind of, you see a large golden treasure chest that's been placed in a sort of carrying case, like a litter, lashed together with wood and leather, with handles on either side, so hobgoblins can easily pick this thing up and carry it.
Okay, I think I've seen enough. I'm going to, again, just confidently stride across to this curtain.
Okay.
And go outside.
That sounds excellent. Adrex, what are you doing during this time?
Has the treasure moved yet?
Well, you wouldn't know from down here.
Let's go look at the treasure.
Okay. So where are you going?
He said the treasure was over here.
No, it's kept
right?
upstairs. It never comes down
Oh.
here through the pig pen. Over there is the harem, essentially. This is where the female hill giants stay.
No, don't want anything to do with that.
Adrex would like to be able to sleep at some point in his life.
Yeah, that too. That'd be really nice.
I've seen some things.
Sorry. Explain to me one more time the parade route of this treasure. If it stays upstairs, they bring it down.
It never comes on this floor. It goes from the throne room where Fat Man is sitting, through the kitchen,
Right.
through that
Right.
curtain that I went through, up to the top of that tower.
Correct. Hobgoblins come in here and retrieve it. They take it up here to the watchtower. They take it up into the watchtower. And then later in the afternoon, they bring it back. This happens every single day.
Shit. Let's okay. I'm gonna need it. Give me a moment.
Okay.
I'm gonna figure out where I want to go specific. If you could pull up the other map, I would greatly appreciate it.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
What is Raazu doing during this time?
Oh man. Okay.
Raazu is contemplating how she might best bluff her way past the bugbears here in the prison to see if she could identify if the giant that's locked up down here is in fact Big Boof.
Okay, how do you go about getting this information? You try to trick it out of them with deception?
Yeah, I'll go for that.
Okay, how's this going to work? These bugbears do seem to be nervous around you, but they also know that you're not their boss.
Raazu will say to them that it seems kind of unusual that the giants would keep one of their own here in a prison where I would think that she would instead be kept, with the rest of her kind. Why is this?
And one of them explains that if he was one of the orc eaters, and the bugbears seem to use that name judiciously and very cheerfully. But if he was one of the orc eaters' women, he would learn not to speak out of turn.
She spoke out of turn then? What's her name?
And they give you this weird look, like why would they be expected to keep track of a hill giant's name? They don't know, and they don't understand why you would even care.
It would seem to be really strange if even if she is being held prisoner, I would think she's being mistreated down here. She's not getting fed or not having her wounds tended to.
And they chuckle. And they seem less nervous around you after that. After this talk of a hobgoblin being concerned that a prisoner is being mistreated.
And if she were, say, found dead down here without having been treated for her injuries or starved, then who would they look to punish?
Make an intimidation check. Charisma intimidation.
This is right in my wheelhouse. That is an 18.
And they stop chuckling. They exchange glances. One of them crosses their arms and looks back at you. Say, suppose we tell them you did it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would go over well. You let outsiders come in here.
And they correct you. The orcs brought outsiders in here.
Still, you haven't reported me, so as far as I would see it, you're complicit as well.
They exchange glances again. And one of them leaves the area. The other one just turns back crosses his arms, stands stoically staring at you, and he's very unhappy now.
Raazu will approach the cage.
And he makes no move to stop you, but he's watching you very intently.
Damn, I wish Adrex is here. Because I need some medical knowledge here. But I guess I'm
Adrex hasn't gone to do anything yet, so if you need him, you can hop on over for the time being.
He's hopping? In
Yeah,
his orc armor.
He's been perching, and he's been watching Wendy a lot.
He comes up, he's like, hey, Red said to be a flamingo, right?
Not quite. Adrex, can you get a look at her and see what medical needs she needs? Dr. Adrex, MD.
How'd that
I
go?
thought it was DDS.
Why is he a dentist? No, he's a medical doctor. Get it right. Not 20, 24.
Okay. Her wounds aren't fatal. She's taken a beating, but she's not going to die here. And even if you were inclined to help her, you don't have enough resources.
Right.
Your entire medicine kit isn't enough to heal her wounds.
It's a hill giant.
Right.
So, yeah. Obviously, probably Dipshit or Eater or whatever his name is probably inflicted those wounds. They're not fatal, but there's nothing I can do. I can't heal a hill giant. There's too much to heal.
And as you guys are laying there having this discussion, I mean, she kind of rolls over a little bit and groans in pain. And you hear her say Dosho's name.
All right, that's a confirmation. Then
That
clear,
clinches.
this is clearly Big Boof, without a doubt in my mind. No way it could not be.
Yeah.
You're saying that to yourself or the GM?
Both.
Can't be Big Boof, it's not a dog. Big Boof's a chihuahua, remember?
All right. I will. Raazu nods once she hears Dosho's name, and then nods and steps back away.
Okay. Red.
Mm-hmm.
You squidge your way out this river, and I mean, you come emerging out into what's now forming a large lake, and there's just all kinds of broken wood and debris and dead fish and things kind of smashed up the side of this dam.
Okay. So should be pretty easy to pick my way along the edge of the rock and not be seen just moving between these things?
Depends where you want to go. Let me get the... Or give me a second. I'm going to... I thought we were just going to use this map for flavor, but
Yeah.
it seems that we're actually using it to coordinate some of the plans. So we'll just go ahead and I'll save this outside map here. Create
Some bullshit.
create a new actual save so I can just load it up whenever I need it instead of having to go to immigrant.com. So you're coming out on the backside of the lake here, which we conveniently can't see on this map, but you'd be able to move pretty freely along the side of the dam, but anybody up in this watchtower is going to see pretty much over the whole lake. So you would have to try to stick to cover if you're going to move along the edge of the lake.
Right, yeah. I want to just kind of swim underwater for the most part when I do have to surface in the middle of a bunch of this debris.
Yeah, that would work.
So what I want to do is I want to go along the entire edge of the dam, aside from this part that I saw from the other side where there's the waterfall. And I want to find all the places where you have a water entrance into this fortress.
Okay.
And follow each of those.
I mean, there are
It's big
countless
enough
of
for
them. There are
big enough for
lots.
me, obviously.
There's the one that you came in here, And then
Yep.
you find the other one on the other side here,
Mhm.
which is on the other side of the prison. These two small ones kind of punching through into the prison. Maybe with some excavation work, if you ship some logs around, you might be able to make a birdie-sized hole to get through there.
Okay.
But those would be the two major entrances there.